Imagine a life beyond Earth, where the planets we gaze at from the comfort of our homes are no longer just distant points of light. What would it be like to experience death on each of the planets in our solar system? From the intense heat of Mercury to the freezing cold of Neptune, each planet offers its own unique... But before we dive into this cosmic journey, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more mind-blowing content about the universe. Now let's explore what it would be like to die on each of the planets, discussing the harsh environments and how they would ultimately lead to your demise. Mercury. Mercury, the closest planet to the Sun, might seem like an interesting place to visit, but it's far from hospitable. With surface temperatures reaching a blistering 445 degrees Celsius, 833 degrees Fahrenheit, during the day, you'd be instantly cooked alive. At night, temperatures plummet to nearly -177 degrees Celsius, -289 degrees Fahrenheit, leaving you frozen in an icy tomb. The lack of atmosphere on Mercury means there is no protection from the sun, as harmful radiation, making it a perilous place for any living being. Dying here would be like being caught in an unrelenting cycle of extreme heat and freezing cold, each change more brutal than the last. Venus. Venus, often referred to as Earth's sister planet, is about 80% similar to Earth in terms of size, but that's where the similarities end. The atmosphere of Venus is made up mostly of carbon dioxide, with clouds of sulfuric acid that could dissolve your body. The surface pressure on Venus is 90 times that of Earth's, equivalent to being deep beneath the ocean. Temperatures on Venus average around 465 degrees Celsius, 869 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt lead. With no chance to escape this toxic, suffocating environment, dying on Venus would feel like being crushed and roasted alive simultaneously. Earth's moon. While Earth's moon isn't a planet, it is important to briefly consider it because of its similarity to other airless bodies in the solar system. Without an atmosphere, there's no air to breathe, and you'd suffocate quickly. In the extreme temperatures of the moon, ranging from 123 degrees Celsius, 253 degrees Fahrenheit, in the daytime, to -173 degrees Celsius, -289 degrees Fahrenheit at night, you would rapidly succumb to the harsh conditions. Whether from the suffocation or the extreme temperature fluctuations, death on the moon would be a grim and immediate experience. Mars. Mars, the red planet, offers a slightly more Earth-like environment. But don't let that fool you. The Martian atmosphere is thin, composed mostly of carbon dioxide, providing little protection from harmful radiation. Temperatures on Mars hover around -63 degrees Celsius, -85 degrees Fahrenheit, but can reach as high as 20 degrees Celsius, 68 degrees Fahrenheit, at the equator during the summer. However, even in the best-case scenario, you'd still be unable to breathe, and the lack of oxygen would quickly lead to asphyxiation. The frigid temperatures and radiation exposure would result in an incredibly slow, painful death. Mars may be a little more forgiving than Venus, but it's still an inhospitable place for any human to die. Jupiter. Jupiter, the gas giant, is an entirely different beast. With no solid surface, you would fall into its atmosphere for what seems like eternity. As you descend, the atmospheric pressure would increase exponentially, becoming millions of times stronger than Earth's atmosphere. The temperature at lower altitudes would reach -150 degrees Celsius, -233 degrees Fahrenheit. The immense pressures and cold would crush your body, and the surrounding gases, like ammonia and methane, would prove toxic. Dying on Jupiter would be an agonizing descent into an alien atmosphere, where your body would be crushed by the pressure and suffocated by the toxic gases. Saturn. Saturn, like Jupiter, is a gas giant with no solid surface to stand on. The deeper you fall into Saturn's atmosphere, the hotter and more pressurized it becomes. At the top of the atmosphere, the temperature is around -100 Mi, and 80 degrees Celsius, -292 degrees Fahrenheit. But the pressure and temperature increase drastically as you descend. The high-pressure environment would crush you in seconds, and the toxic gases, primarily hydrogen and helium, would suffocate you. The violent storms and fast winds, reaching speeds of over 500 kilometers per hour, 300 miles per hour, would rip apart anything caught in the atmosphere. Dying on Saturn would feel like being torn apart by an overwhelming force, surrounded by an atmosphere that suffocates and crushes you at once. Uranus. Uranus, the ice giant, is far colder than Saturn and Jupiter. The average temperature of Uranus is around -214 degrees Celsius, -355 degrees Fahrenheit, colder than any temperature found on Earth. The planet's atmosphere is made up of hydrogen, helium, and methane, with no solid surface. As you descend into Uranus, you would experience the extreme cold and increasing pressure as you fall further into the atmosphere. The gas composition would make it impossible for you to breathe, and you'd quickly succumb to suffocation. Dying on Uranus would be an icy and suffocating experience, with no chance of survival as you fall further into the planet's frozen depths. Neptune. Neptune is similar to Uranus, but even colder and more distant. Its atmosphere consists of hydrogen, helium, and methane, with temperatures averaging around -214 degrees Celsius, -355 degrees Fahrenheit, similar to Uranus. Neptune's winds are the strongest in the solar system, reaching speeds of up to 2,000 kilometers per hour, 1,200 miles per hour. The cold, the crushing pressure, and the lack of oxygen would make survival impossible. Death on Neptune would be a brutal mixture of freezing cold, lack of breathable air, and overwhelming wind forces that would tear apart anything unlucky enough to enter its atmosphere. Pluto. Although Pluto is no longer classified as a planet, its harsh environment would make dying there no less tragic. With temperatures around -240 degrees Celsius, -380 degrees Fahrenheit, it is far colder than any place on Earth. The atmosphere of Pluto is thin and made mostly of nitrogen, with little to no oxygen. You would suffocate almost instantly. The low gravity would also make your movements seem weightless, but the extreme cold would freeze you almost immediately. Dying on Pluto would be a slow, cold, and lonely death, far from the warmth and light of the sun. Each planet in our solar system presents its own set of challenges and perils, each with a brutal way to meet your end. From the crushing pressures and intense heat of Venus and Mercury, to the freezing cold and suffocation on Neptune and Pluto, death on these planets would be a final, inhospitable end. As we look up at the night sky, let's remember that these planets, though beautiful and fascinating, are not places for us to explore, at least not in the way we might have imagined. Until then, Earth remains our only safe haven.